The AKAI Professional S-Series samplers take mastering the art of sound into a new dimension. From the base model S2800 to the ultimate performance of the S3200, all 5 samplers in the S-Series line share a host of powerful features, like 32 voice polyphony.
I've always been fascinated with how electronic music was produced before the modern computer era. Nowadays, everything can be done on a single laptop, with endless possibilities and almost no limitations. Hearing stories on how a lot of the early bedroom producers got started, making songs on a computer with only 4 audio channels, or a sampler with only a few seconds worth of storage time. It's amazing how creative they were, while still keeping in mind all of these limitations. Of course, it just wouldn't be right unless we had a go ourselves. So a few eBay bids later, and I'm now the proud owner of an AKAI S3000XL digital MIDI sampler. These machines were used by just about every electronic music producer from the late 80s to the mid 90s, and at their price point definitely helped lots of people to get started making music. So I've had a few hours to play with the S3000XL so far, and I'm happy to say it's working well. Here it is with a similarly aged machine, the Commodore Amiga 1200, something that it was regularly paired with in the 90s. There is one thing we need to do though before it can be used properly, and that's replace the LCD backlight. Over time these fade and wear out, and that's exactly what's happened to this machine. Luckily there's a cheap modern replacement you can buy, which is easy to fit and from what I've seen works well. It's this, the EL Backlight from Retroillumination. It's basically a substitute electroluminescent panel that sits in between the old backlight and the LCD display. So let's get to work. First we need to remove the top cover from the sampler, which has just 4 screws on the side, and then 1 on the back. We can then gently lift the top panel off to reveal the inside of our sampler. Luckily it's looking nice and clean in there. Next we need to remove the front panel. To do this first we need to remove the 3 knobs on the front, followed by 3 screws along the top, and then 3 screws underneath. Once the front panel is out of the way, we can see the LCD and inside the backlight inverter. We need to remove the wires for the old backlight to make room for the new one. Now we need to remove the LCD panel, which is held on by 4 screws. With the panel now free, we can go ahead and just slide those old backlight wires out through the case. As the old backlight is completely dead, we don't need these cables anymore, so I'll just go ahead and snip them. So now it's time to fit our new backlight. The brighter side comes out towards the front. First we just need to slide the wires through the case the same way as the old ones came out. Next we can just go ahead and gently slide our new backlight in, right behind the LCD panel. Then it's just a case of plugging the wires into the inverter in the exact same way that the old ones came out. The polarity doesn't matter here, so you can just go ahead and plug them in either way. With the installation looking good, it's now time for a quick test. Obviously keep in mind when doing this that the unit is now live at mains voltage. and already we can see a massive difference. Okay, and one more thing to do before we put it back together. Give those buttons a much deserved clean. There's a strong possibility this faceplate's never been off before, so that's just 24 years of dirt and grime we're cleaning then. All clean, and it's time to get that LCD panel back on. Our faceplate back on. I did end up removing the display contrast knob as well. It just makes it easier to slide on. The 3 screws back underneath and then the 3 on top. And our faceplate is secure again. Time for another quick check. Remembering not to put our hands inside as the unit is live at mains voltage. And it's looking good. We can see from turning the backlight on and off that the improvement is huge from before. So now we're happy with everything, it's just time to put the cover back on. And that is the 4 screws on the side. And the one on the back. And last but not least, just putting our 3 adjustment knobs back on the front. As a side note, just in case anyone is wondering how this does connect to the Amiga, I just use this MIDI connector which is connected to an extension lead that goes to the serial port of the Amiga. Then we just go from the MIDI out of the adapter to the MIDI in of the AKAI Sampler. So that's the AKAI S3000XL back to normal. A nice easy fix and not too expensive.